giants, because you're all giants as far as I'm concerned. And it goes like this. How much would it be to buy a hero? If you could buy one in Tesco's, what would be the cost? Would you pay in pounds and pence? Or would you just offer decency and common sense as payment for all the heroes that given and all that he's lost? Would you expect to find a hero amongst the normal, nestled between the sweet corn and the peas? Or would you find them laying in a foreign field, wounded and dead because they wouldn't yield, their blood-stained tunics gently blowing in the breeze? How can you put a price upon a soldier, especially one who's fought for this country but who lives so far away, who's given his lifeblood and his sweat, though his home is near the foothills of Tibet, yet he loves his country enough to fight for it? Tell me, for this, how much would you pay? Isn't such loyalty worth an equal pension? Isn't it worth being truly recognised by those that we elect? Why are our politicians even arguing the toss when these aging warriors have sacrificed and suffered so much loss? Why can't they show some thanks, humility and respect? Do old soldiers not deserve to be looked after in their old age as they march towards their grave? Do these tiny heroes of Nepal, giants among men that stand defiantly and tall, not deserve to be cared for when for us they've been so brave? We asked them to join us in the poppy fields of France and Belgium. Their bodies with our own were strewn across the carnage in the mud. Their casualties were steep, at Luz and then in Ypres, as they helped buy this nation victory with their blood. And so it's been throughout the decades. We've blown the bugle and these giants always came. They answered each and every calling, yet the way our leaders treat them now is so appalling. Our politicians aren't even worthy enough to speak their name. So I've come down here from my home in Teesside to your protest at the Cenotaph on behalf of a member of my family, my mum's brother, my Uncle Jack, who fought with you by your side as you fell and as you died in each and every Burmese offensive and attack. I've come to tell you that while our politicians ignore your cries for equality, that the people of this country stand with you, the Gurkha Rifles. We stand defiantly by your side. And to you, I'll tell you that despite our government's platitudes, you'll always have this nation's gratitude, and you'll always own our hearts, warmth, admiration, love and pride. Peace to every one of you. God bless you all.
What a powerful poem. And for people who served this country, they joined the British Army to serve and protect the people of the United Kingdom. And the Gurkhas are one of the most feared regiments within the, or should I say fearless regiments within the British Army. And here we have a situation which has developed that these people, they don't get the money which is needed in order to live, in order to provide for a future, namely a pension. And you know, British soldiers, from no matter where they come from, if they fought within the British Army, if they fought as the British Army, well, I'll ask the live chat and for the people that's watching here, do those people deserve to be treated kindly and fairly in their old age? I mean, what a powerful poem. Such a powerful poem for people that fought and gave themselves in a selfless way, and I'll say that yet again, in order to protect the people from right around the United Kingdom. Jack, I mean, when you showed me that poem just earlier on, I have to say it such a powerful poem. It made goose pimples stand on my arms, on my neck, and it's choked me up, Jack. It has really choked me up, Jack. You know a lot about this. I know that you and the Turning Point platform have been following the plight of the Gurkhas really from the start, and I've seen some live streams that you've put up. Jack, would you just like to, and take as long as you like, address the people that are here and tell them really how that it is from your point of view. I mean, you know a lot about it, so over to you. And I'm just before you do, Jack, very welcome, Roy Brinkley. It's really, really good to see you here, Roy. And yeah, Roy, have you heard that poem? Such a powerful poem, such a powerful poem. Over to you, Jack.
Actually, one of the. Oh, am I muted or am I?
No, you're okay.
Excellent. Roy's actually a great guy as well. He's one of the main campaigners for the Gurkha campaign. So he's the guy who popped the petition up. So we wrote that together. And he's been, again, the Gurkhas absolutely love him because he's one of the vets who's really organised for the other British vets to come out and support them. So a very good guy, a great campaigner. But yeah, the sort of an overarching view of the Gurkha situation is, as far as I'm aware, if you retired after 1997 as a Gurkha, they changed the law to mean that the pensions are pretty much equal and people have much better rights, they have much better training and conditions. But prior to 1997, their pensions are still all over the place. There's one lady on hunger strike at the moment. She's a Gurkha widow, and she was saying she only receives £10 a month pension. And they say the government says, or the MOD says, oh, that's all right to survive on if you were in Nepal. But you couldn't survive on a tenner a month in Nepal. It's frankly disgusting. And again, it's something which is, last time I was there, I just had tears in my eyes because I feel so sorry that those three guys, it's two veteran Gurkha heroes and one Gurkha widow on hunger strike. And it depresses me that in this country, for people to have their voice heard, they have to go on hunger strike. They have to threaten to kill themselves to get equality. And that shouldn't happen in Britain. Britain, we pride ourselves. We pandered to Black Lives Matter. We pandered to Extinction Rebellion. If someone turns up, if Gurkhas bloody turned up in a dinghy in Kent, they'd get 4-star hotel, food, spending money, whatever. They get more spending money if they were an illegal than some of them do in their pensions. And that's just horrific that our country has jaded views like that. And the government claims they can't give them an equal pension because they've run out of money. They haven't got any money left. But they spent over 30 billion, sorry, with a B, pounds on a failed track and trace app. They spent God knows how many tens of billions, if not over 100 billion, on planning HS2 before they've even broken ground to build it. And they can't find, it's about 900 million to solve this, which sounds like a lot, but there's around 15,000 Gurkhas and their families. So you're probably talking about 50,000 people. So actually 900 million divided by that isn't that much a person to cover years and generations of inequality. Like the left wing talks about reparations for stuff which has happened 200 years ago. This is something which is happening right now. People who have served our country, who have, again, you go there and they've all got medals on. They've all, not just one or two, they've all got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 medals on. So these boys saw some action back in the day. And they're being forced to live in shitty they're being forced to live in crap council houses. They're being forced to, their kids can't come over from Nepal to live with them because they can't afford to put their kids up. So their kids are ending up having to work in places like Saudi Arabia, where if we went to Saudi Arabia as white Brits, we'd be treated like dirt. And as South Asians, they get treated even worse than how we get treated over there. It's absolutely disgusting. And as I said, so for the pre-1997 guys, the pension's just the tip of the iceberg. I've seen people's pay slips where at times they were paid as little as £2.10 an hour in the 90s. And they try and justify it. They say, oh, it's the Nepal minimum wage or whatever. But a lot of the time, the Gurkhas weren't stationed in Nepal. We got people being paid £2.10 an hour who were guarding the Queen at Windsor Castle or at Buckingham Palace. You've got £2.10 an hour for guarding MOD barracks, £2.10 an hour for going and fighting in the Falklands. It's frankly, it's ridiculous. And yeah, I don't know how our government's allowed this to happen at all, and why they won't resolve it. Like all the Gurkha hunger strikes are asking, they're not even asking for the money. You know, they're not asking for the government to give them all this money. They're not asking for equality. All they're asking for is that their service be recognised and they can have a meeting with the Veterans Minister or the MOD Minister, or Defence Minister, sorry. They just want a roundtable meeting where they think if they can show him how their families are living, they can show them how generational poverty has caused them to end up working as essentially modern day slaves in Saudi Arabia and countries around there. They hope they can plead to the minister's humanity to try and show them what's happening to them. And they think if that's the case, the minister will hopefully open their eyes and give them the money they deserve, the money they're entitled to, the money where if they were born in this country and served, they'd be entitled to themselves. And again, I'm not saying that British veterans or other British veterans are treated particularly well. I think the government treats all our vets like crap. But again, we're treating the Gurkhas especially bad at the moment, especially poorly. And it's just very depressing to see. They've been a regiment in the British Army for 206 or 7 years. So over 2 centuries, they've fought on the front line. So they haven't just been carrying tea for people. They haven't just been cleaning the floors or whatever. These guys have been in the thick of it. Again, they're given those machetes for a reason. They're not there to play with. They're there to go into very nasty situations and defend our country. And again, there's a video out there where actually, again, unfortunately, I couldn't find it for this evening, but you got one of the guys being harassed by the police. And he says to him, he's like, the Gurkhas have served you. We've defended you for 206 years. Why are you doing this to us? Why are you discriminating against us? And it broke my heart watching that video. Like all of this, seeing how these guys, they're so polite. They, again, even in the pen opposite Downing Street, every hour they come out and they brush it. So all the other protests there, they clean up all their rubbish that they throw on the floor. That's how respectful they are of our country. That's how much they care about us, and they're just good, humble people. And they said they don't want any trouble with the police. They don't want to cause a scene. They're not going to go and do an extinction rebellion and start egging people or throwing blood on people. All they want, they're sitting there doing their peaceful hunger strike, and they're hoping that the government will see them on equal terms. And they don't want to do this hunger strike. They don't want to starve themselves to death. They're doing this because they've tried. They've reached out multiple times since 2007 to have a meeting with the government, and the government's ignored them for decades. And so this is what they've had to resort to, which is really sad. And all they said the Nepali government actually wrote to the British government last year in February 2020 and requested a meeting so they could discuss the pensions, and the government just ignored them. And that's really sad to see, because they're saying even they don't feel that their country's being respected either. And obviously Nepal is a country which is twinned with us. Every year we bring in their youth to serve in our armed forces in the Gurkhas. And so if we can't even afford their government the respect to reply to their letters, even as I said, they said, even if they say no, even if they say we won't give you the pensions, they're happy with that outcome. At least they've been acknowledged. At least they've been respected as a human being. What they can't stand is the government treating them like dirt and not acknowledging their existence. And it's other things as well they're really upset about. They're upset that Britain sent vaccines to Pakistan, to India, to all over the world, but they said they'd sent vaccines to Nepal and they've not sent any to them. And lots of the elderly Gurkhas are dying over there with coronavirus because they haven't got any resistance. And so it's so many issues which has happened with the Gurkhas. And again, I said it, I spoke at the rally, I said, if you actually care about Black Lives Matter, if you care about ending injustice, if you care about equality, you should be supporting these guys. You should be signing the petition. You should be going down there and telling the bloody government to take the knee to the Gurkhas, because it's quite clear that the government doesn't think Gurkha lives matter.
Yeah, Jack, and I mean, that was just a huge big list, and I'm sure, I mean, you've actually educated me on a lot of the things. I mean, as I say, I'll go back to that poem again. What a powerful poem, which is literally, I mean, it has really highlighted what it is that the Gurkhas are going through right now. So, Jack, I'm going to play a second clip right now, which you were kind enough to pass me across. And I'm going to actually appeal to the live chat to watch this clip, and watch this clip very, very carefully. Now, before we play the clip, we're going to say that this isn't for the faint-hearted. I mean, these people are on hunger strike outside Downing Street, and they're there to highlight the very fact, as Jack would have said, is that they served and protected the people of the United Kingdom. And, you know, now they're being treated as if they don't matter. And you know, we often see that with military veterans, even, you know, the people that served here in Northern Ireland, we've seen how that the British government that they tend to turn a blind eye when it comes to veterans, but this is a special kind of unacceptable, let's just say. So let's play this clip, and then we'll come back and I'll give a bit of commentary, Jack, and then we'll go over to you because you know a bit about this.
Look, guys, look! Guys, look! Guys, look!
Okay, so I mean, that was a short clip. Jack, would you just like to tell people what was happening in that clip and the events surrounding it?
So basically, I'm going to give people a bit of an overview. So the Gurkhas have been on and off hunger striking for about the last 3 weeks. So they're on day 6 today of their actual hunger strike. But for the 2 weeks before then, they were doing a 24-hour hunger strike because they didn't want it to get to this. They thought the government would afford them enough respect and meet them beforehand. But since they've started their proper hunger strike, so to speak, they've had 3 big visits from the police. The first thing the police did was they took their chairs away because they accused them of sleeping on the chairs. And apparently in the Parliament area, you're not allowed to sleep there. So they took these chairs away. The Gurkhas then realised, okay, we can't sleep. And so they've got new chairs. They're responding to the rules, and they put up a gazebo because it kept raining. But they did the gazebo in the way so it wasn't a fixed structure. So it didn't have poles coming down, really. It was tied up with their religious, their Hindu like sashes, essentially. And then the police came along and said, no, you can't have that anymore. But how the police did, the first time the police came, it was the middle of the night. This time the police hit them at 10 a.m. on I believe it was a Monday morning, when everyone who had gone and supported them at the weekend had gone home. There was only a few people there. Everyone else was at work. And they sort of stormed in a group of them and said, no, you can't have this anymore. Apparently it got leaked to us. Again, I'm not sure how valid this is, but apparently the police walked into the station that morning and they were told by their higher ups, you need to go there and take their tent off them because they didn't like it there. They're trying to break the hunger strike. And so they went in there and they assaulted 2 Gurkha widows. So they pushed one lady over. One Gurkha widow who was is part of the hunger strike. They pushed her over, and they shoved one of the Gurkhas who's on hunger strike. They shoved his wife over. There was also another chap there, and they stamped on his toe, and he had sort of blood all over his foot where they cracked his toe. And then another chap who said when he was trying to wrestle with the gazebo, not letting the police take it, one of the police officers actually squeezed him by the testicles and said, you need to let go. So we're seeing very, very dirty tactics being used here. And so that's meant that they took the gazebo down. They cited a load of rubbish. The Gurkhas on hunger strike, this was like day 3-ish of the hunger strike. I don't remember the exact day, but obviously they've gone without food for a long time. So they're thinking, what the hell's going on? Are we being arrested? So you can actually see one of them in the video saying, arrest me, because he doesn't want anyone else getting in trouble. You see, that's how good these people are. He's begging for the police officer just to arrest him and to stop pushing the woman around, to stop bullying other people. And it's just shocking that the police went in and did that. And they took the canopy away, and then it was blazing heat all day for the rest of the day after it just rained. And so they're just trying to break the hunger strike, essentially. And then the Gurkhas they replaced the gazebo with umbrellas to put up. Someone came down and donated umbrellas. And the police went to them. They said, you can't have the umbrellas up between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. So middle of summer, they can't have shade up, and it's just, they're making it up as they're going along. I'm not sure whether it was there before or not, but they've got a camera facing down into them. And I spoke to one of the guys who's on guard duty there, and he said it goes up and down at night where they're trying to look around things they put up to see if they can get them. Because if one of them goes like that and they close their eyes, they accuse them of sleeping, and they can come over and they can take the chairs away. When a lot of the time they're just meditating, or again, if you're doing multiple days without sleep, it might just be literally exhaustion, so you're not sleeping, you're just trying to get a bit of rest kind of thing. But then again, they had another incident with the police where the police turned up, and this is where it gets interesting, and you see the politics within the police, where they came in to try and take the umbrellas away from them. But the locals, there's been some veterans who've gone down to do the security, and they just said no to the police. So you can't take them. If you're going to come in and take them, you're going to have to arrest everyone. And then the police left them alone. But apparently during that, there was a police car which went by, and it actually had 2 veterans who were veterans and police officers, and they were asked by the other 2 police officers who were sort of university graduate types, "Oh, can you come and help us?" And they said, "Oh, you're harassing the Gurkhas. We're not getting involved." And so it's interesting to see that the veterans and the police are actually standing up for what's good, but certainly there's a lot of bullying behaviour going on, and it's just, I think there's no need for it. Again, every other protest is allowed to do whatever they want. You had Extinction Rebellion climbing up trees and living in little canopies, so in like little tree houses for weeks on end. You've got them blocking ambulances. You've got Black Lives Matter pulling down statues, vandalizing statues, being left to do as they please. But because it's a few old pensioners having a hunger strike, the police think they can throw their weight around. And again, I don't know how they think they're going to break the hunger strike, because it's apparent they won't arrest the Gurkha hunger strikers because it will be an international incident. But they're going to do everything they can to make it as uncomfortable for them as possible to continue their strike, because they don't want them to get to the 2 weeks. They don't want them to get to the stage where they get thin and they get ill, because it looks bad on them. It looks bad on the government. So they want to try and get them to tap out on their own accord, which means playing dirty. You know, at night, they're not allowed to sit on chairs. They have to sit on the floor. They have to sit on the stone floor, and they can put a little blanket down and sit on top of that, but they're not allowed to sit on chairs in there, because the police just come and they make it up as they go along, citing bylaws. But I think, as I said, they pick and choose when they use these bylaws. If it was a Black Lives Matter protest, there'd be no issues. But because it's for veterans, because it's for British veterans, they just clamp down on them.
And Jack, I mean, I watched one of your videos and you were talking to one of the hunger strikers, and you know, it was a good conversation. I mean, would you just like to tell the live chat? I mean, are these people serious? I mean, will they hunger strike to the death, do you think? I mean, give us your opinion on that.
Yes, and this is why it's devastating, because myself and the veteran community don't actually support the hunger strike. We don't like the idea of these people sacrificing their lives for it. We think there's other ways to go, but they just feel like they've been completely ignored, bullied, and just being treated like rubbish. And so they think the hunger strike's the only way to go forwards. But I spoke to them, I was like, also, when do you think of wrapping it up? And they go, no, till death. And it's quite jarring to see. But you see it in their community as well. There was a massive respect for them. So on the day, I'll see if I can find the clip in a minute. There was about 100 Gurkha veterans there with them, and they all came in and they had their candles lit. They had a little blessing from the Dalai Lama. So the Dalai Lama's actually blessed their hunger strike. And they came in and everyone said thank you to them. They prayed to them, and they're seen as heroes in their community. And they're not taking it lightly. They know the seriousness of what they're doing. But as they say, it's the Gurkha saying, it's better to die than be a coward. So that's their mantra when they were serving, and that's their mantra now. They'd rather die than live in a crappy council flat where they can't afford to feed their family, where they have to survive on charity, and they find it incredibly demeaning for such a very proud people. And so they would rather die. And they said it's like, if we die, at least then our friends, our family will get justice, because other people will fill their shoes too. If the government doesn't listen to them and they die, there'll be more hunger strikers. And then if they all die, there'll be more hunger strikers as well. Like, these people, they mean business and they are entitled to what they're demanding. And so they just see it as a massive injustice. Again, you've got to remember, it's sort of the Nepal, we go back long enough with the Buddhist monks. I know it's slightly different because the Gurkhas are Hindu, but when they were pushing for peace, they would set themselves on fire. And so it's something in the sort of Southeast thing, hunger striking to death, it's seen as a big honor for them and a peaceful way of what they're getting, rather than going and raising arms. It's still as serious, but in a much more, they're only really hurting themselves, you know?
And I mean, I'm just going to read this from Anto Wickham. Anto Wickham is a veteran, and I can tell you all, when the Gurkha sets his mind on something, they will follow it through. And I mean, those are words that I'll accept, and I know that man would actually know what he was speaking about. And I'm just going to go back a wee bit to something else I seen on our live chat here from John Brennan. Good evening, gents. I've served alongside the Gurkhas. They are second to none. The Gurkha regiment is one of the toughest regiments to get into. Their training is longer than any other. They deserve more pension than most. And just another thing on the live chat that I want to highlight here, and this is from Clive Spencer. We march on Saturday at 12:30 hours. Join us, please. Gurkhas have been promised. 2013, government ignored them. Gazebo they took away was blessed. Now, people, if you just bear with me, I've had a malfunction with my camera, so I'm frozen on the screen, but I know that you can hear me because you can still see my sound on the screen here. So, I mean, I'll actually fix this up. So, Jack, I mean, let's move on. Sorry, go ahead,
Shall we
Jack?
play the next clip, John? It might be
Yeah.
shot in the camera.
Yeah. So let's move on. That's what I was about to say. And I'm going to set a bit of context, and I think my screen's actually coming back on again here. But I'm going to set a bit of context. And Jack, you mentioned it. You've already touched on it. I mean, just last year, during the lockdown, there was a bunch of left-wing lunatics, and they were wandering the streets of around Whitehall and Parliament Square, and they were defacing statues and. And these were white people, and they says that they were there to protest for the Black Lives Matter campaign. And, we've seen it right across the world and right around the world. And I have some friends here from the African community that would be watching this screen. And, and everyone knows by now that I'm not a racist, and I can actually vouch for Jack, that Jack isn't a racist. And, people, they were protesting for Black Lives Matter. And we noticed that the police, the Met Police in London, they were encouraged to take the knee to this protest. And it was pitiful looking, because I honestly believe, and this is my hand on my heart, police force is there to serve and protect the community. And a police force is also there not to look weak, but to stand tall and to police in a way that would be firm but fair, and treating everybody in an absolutely fair way. Now, I'm going to tell you, in Northern Ireland, we have a police force here called the PSNI, and the founding principles of that force would be that policing should be done in a way that it is fair, that is impartial, that is free from partisan political control. In other words, politicians have no bearing on how that it is that police should be policing. So they should be free from partisan political control, and most importantly, they should be capable of gaining and maintaining the respect of the entire community. Now, when we contrast what happened in London last year during the lockdowns, when the left-wing lunatics were defacing the monuments, the statues, trying to pull Winston Churchill down, and they completely graffitied him up. And if the veterans hadn't went there to protect those monuments, I would have said that a lot of those statues might have ended up pulled down. Now, I want you to now have a look at another clip that Jack has sent me, and this is Cressida Dick. This is the head of the Met Police in London, and I would like you just to listen to why that it is that Cressida says that the Met Police would have went in and tackled the Gurkhas and took away their means of protection and their means of keeping the rain off them. I mean, yeah, let's just listen to Cressida. And Jack, whenever we come back, if you would then tell the people what it is that you see, because again, I know that you know the area around this and why that it happened and what happened afterwards. So let's play this clip. I'll try to fix my camera, and Jack will be back very, very shortly to talk about it.
I imagine, of some elderly Gurkhas outside number 10 Downing Street.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you may not be aware, but your officers have taken away the awning under which these old soldiers were afforded some protection from the sun and indeed from the rain. It is apparently an offence to have an awning. How come the Met removes elderly Gurkhas' awnings, but you can put a yellow boat in Oxford Circus and skateboard and sing with demonstrators? Why would that be, Commissioner?
So we have to deal with each protest as they are sort of manifest.
So if the Gurkhas wanted to skateboard,
no, let me talk about the Gurkhas, if I may, Nick.
Go ahead.
Of course, I, as much as anybody, have massive respect for the Gurkhas. We have ex-Gurkhas in the Met. I know Gurkhas. I have family who've served in the Gurkha regiment. I have a massive amount of respect for the Gurkhas. There has been a protest in Whitehall for some considerable time now, in an area where people can a kind of static protest. It's allowed, albeit there's a lot of competition in there, and they have been there for a number of days. The law, however, and I think you can understand why, do not allow for what might become a permanent encampment.
But they allow for yacht in Oxford Circus.
partly because other people want to come in there. We don't want, the law is suggesting that people shouldn't be able to just stay there forever opposite Downing Street, which some people would. And therefore, after considerable warning and conversation, my officers did go in and say, I'm afraid this warning is going to have to come down. I think if you watch the video, as ever, public order policing, as we would call it, is complicated. You don't always please people. I know that. But the officers that you see on the video are extremely polite. They're extremely professional, and they're doing their job.
You can pitch a tent if you're sleep on Victoria Bridge or whatever, but you can't if you're an old boy, a Gurkha, go under an awning.
Well, actually, that's not a fair comparison. There are places in London where that bylaw does not exist.
And officers will sing and skateboard with XR and take away Gurkha's covering.
So you're going. We police, as you well know. This last weekend we had 18 protests. There are more this weekend. We police hundreds and hundreds and hundreds every year. You're going back 2 years to an operation in which tens and tens of thousands of officers were deployed to one incident. Right. Of course, we try to act professionally on all occasions. We don't always get it totally right. You've heard a comment on the skateboarding in the past.
Okay.
But I do think they've done the right thing, I'm sorry to say, with this particular incident.
Just before we
Okay, Jack, over to you.
Yeah, well, again, I think that just highlights the two-tier policing we're in, where I think the officers did the right thing, but they were allowed to go and take the knee. She encouraged people to take the knee back with Black Lives Matter. She deliberately didn't tell them to take down Extinction Rebellion stuff because it was a bunch of crusty students and they didn't want the potential fallout from it. And I said they pick and choose what laws they enforce. There's nowhere in this country you can go and erect a big yellow boat or big statues without planning permission. You can't even set a table up on the streets, in theory, without council permission, and they can go and set that up and block roads and do whatever they want. So again, they pick and choose with the law. The other thing, which is especially frustrating, how she's like, oh, we've got Gurkhas serving in the police, we respect the Gurkhas. The police acted so respectfully. They didn't. They were thugs who came the other day. As they were pushing around women, they were being extremely aggressive. They didn't bother bringing someone who could have potentially been a Nepalese translator. Again, the Gurkhas do speak quite good English, but there were people there who didn't speak English and didn't understand what was going on. And if they've got Gurkhas in the police, why didn't they send the Gurkhas along to go and explain to people why they were doing it? As far as I'm aware, they received no warning about bringing down the awning or the tent. They were told they couldn't have a fixed structure, so they tied one up with their religious stuff, which was blessed by their local religious leaders, and they used that because they believed that was the law. There was no prior warning to the police coming. There was no take it down. They turned up and said, we're confiscating this. That doesn't sound like fair and reasonable police. Again, if you're being fair and reasonable, you say, oh, you need to take it down, or tomorrow we're going to have to come back and take it off you. That's fair, and that gives people a chance to decide whether they want to have a bit of a scuffle with the police and break the law, or if they've been warned there is a law, they can go and take it down. And had the Gurkhas been told you're not allowed that, they would have taken it down. Same as the reason why they sat there without their umbrellas being up, because they thought that was the law and they didn't want to lose the umbrellas. These are law-abiding good people, and Cressida Dick is just full of absolute rubbish. She must have gave the order or approved the order to turf them out. And again, she's saying, "Oh, we don't like different protests in there." I've gone along at night to that pen, and there's other protesters there not involved with the Gurkhas, and they sit there smoking weed. They're smoking weed. They're blowing it all over these vets, and that's a crime. That's an actual crime. That's breaking the law. That's doing drugs opposite Downing Street. And you think the police would want? I've seen the police bloody walk by while people are sitting there smoking weed. Do they arrest them? No. So if they care so much about this, they'd nick everyone for everything there. But they're trying to make an example out of the Gurkhas. They're showing them, you can't get one over on us. You can't stop us doing what we want to you. The government can do what they want. The police can do what they want. Just because you think you're so special because you're veterans, you don't get that special title. We're better than you. And I think there's certainly a bit of ego coming from the police here. I think the police think that they're better than these veterans. I think the police think that, the veterans might be using their prestige to try and show off. And I think the police are jealous of the veterans, jealous that they've actually gone and defended the country instead of going and harassing pensioners. And as I said, she said, oh, the police were very calm. You watch the videos, they're calm. It's like, we showed you the video of them pushing people around on here. So I don't know what video she's watching. But they were rude. They were disrespectful. and they just were complete arses. They tried to. Seen videos of them trying to take the flags down, then they left them. They tried to take the religious material away, which again, any other religion, again, I'm not going to go into which ones, but I think we know if you try to take some of their stuff away, that's you out of job. But you can go and harass Hindus. It's disgusting that this has happened, and that she's gone on and lied. And I think Nick Ferrari was good pointing out the hypocrisy of the Met Police. How for some it's okay if you're a trendy, popular cause, or you're white middle class and you're going along, but for everyone else, they treat you like absolute scum.
And Jack, again, we heard mention of a pen there, and you know, for the people on the live chat that don't know what a pen is, could you just describe what the pen is in place for? And one other thing I wanted to ask you, but you know, you mentioned there that there were people that were smoking weed, and you know, and the fumes of it was going over those veterans, those old people. Could you just, I mean, what was that protest about? Do you know what that protest was about? And then you can go on about the pen. Yeah.
It was the anti-lockdown lot, and again, no disrespect to what they're doing. They're entitled to go and protest, but I don't think they're entitled to sit there and smoke weed, especially next to elderly Gurkhas. I think it's one thing, you know, it's like, would you go around your grand's house and blow weed smoke in her face? And if you wouldn't do it to your gran, why are you doing it to other pensioners and especially veterans? I just found it quite distasteful. Like, I'm very anti-drug. I think we need to increase sentences for all drug dealers. But if people want to do that sort of thing, ultimately it's their life. But what you shouldn't be doing is doing it around other people, especially people on a hunger strike. You know, if you're on a hunger strike, the last thing you want to smell is that rubbish, because it's going to make you feel sick, potentially risk getting them high, which is just, it's so irresponsible and so nasty. And then the other thing which annoyed me is there's been tents in the, so the pen, I'll explain what the pen is. The pen's basically a little bit off of Downing Street, which is cordoned off for protests. So if you want to protest Downing Street, there's a little essentially iron railings which cordon off about maybe 20 meters of an area, and you can go in there and you can have your protest, you can hang your signs and everything, and it just keeps you out of the way of everyone so you don't disturb traffic. Sorry, 2 seconds. But yeah, so it keeps you in this little cage. But I've seen tents in there. So when the anti-lockdown, when Extinction Rebellion were in full swing, they'd have people camping there for weeks on end, and that was okay. The police didn't care about that, and I've seen that in the past few weeks where the tents have been there. I spoke to one of the anti-lockdown guys who said his stuff gets confiscated by the police, and he says he's actually got the bylaws. So every time they confiscate his stuff, he goes down to the police station and they give it back. But when the Gurkhas tried to do it, they wouldn't give their stuff back. And so again, you just see this two-tier level, and again, it's taken advantage of people who do speak English, but they speak. They say that themselves, it's very broken English what they speak, and so the police are trying to bamboozle them with all this sort of legalese language, and it didn't work last time because they had people who are sort of British born and bred who understood the bylaws saying no, you can't do that, and the police back off. But they try and get them on their own, and obviously it's very scary for a lot of them. If you're on hunger strike, you don't want your family being arrested around you, you don't want your friends, and it's heartbreaking to see this abuse. And again, I think it is verging on racism. Again, I think it is pure racism. I think the whole thing is we've mistreated these people because I think the government looked to them, thought, you're foreigners from a country which is poor, we're going to pay you nothing because we can, and there's nothing you can do about it. When they signed up, they thought they were being treated. They agreed in 1947 between Nepal and the British government that Gurkha soldiers would be treated the same as British soldiers. But the British slipped in, and I'm not sure if the Nepalese clocked it, that something which basically made they could invalidate the whole argument and just do what they want. Again, classic British Empire there. But unfortunately, it's just disgusting how that's being used time and time again. It's been disgusting how they're treated. Now, as I said, I think they're only being treated this way by the police because the police think they can bully a bunch of old people. Again, if you had that Black Lives Matter mob down there who are all in their camo gear and vests and berets on, would the police be doing anything? No. You know, anyone else walks down in a political uniform, you'd be nicked in seconds under the was it 1936 Anti-Extremism Act or whatever they used to get the black shirts. But BLM can march down in paramilitary uniforms. So again, you're seeing them, other protests breaking all these laws. We see it the same in Northern Ireland with Sinn Féin breaking lockdown to celebrate that terrorist who died, etc., etc. And same as them glorifying terrorists, glorifying the IRA, which breaks laws as well. It's a prescribed organisation, if I'm correct. Yeah, this is the frustrating thing where the police are choosing to enforce these vague laws which apply to some and not to others. It's one of those at the discretion of the police. I think it's ambiguous whether these laws are actually justifiable to be enforced. As far as I've seen, I don't think the police are being fair, and I think they are behaving like bullies.
And Jack, I mean, I'm just going to pop this up from Roy Brinkley again. The police have a gazebo in Downing Street. Why can't the Gurkhas have one? Now, I'll give a bit of context. I did actually see that you had videoed the fact that there was a gazebo just across the road for the police. And would you like to tell us, by contrast, why that it is that the Gurkhas can't have a gazebo and why that it is that the police do just across the road?
It's ridiculous. This is one of the things, again, I got it on the live stream, where there's no reason. So the police have the gazebo so they can stand out the sun when the sun's on them. And then, again, as someone said, these are people who work for the government treating people who used to work for the government abysmally. And I think the police didn't like it when I filmed them being under the gazebo, because I don't think they like the hypocrisy. But you're talking literally about a gap of 20 meters. And they're saying, oh, on this side of the fence, because it's government property, we can do what we want. But over there, you can't have your gazebo to stay out in the sun. And it's just extremely unfair. And I think you'd think as a courtesy, they take their gazebo down. But it is sort of like doing that at them across the road, saying, look at what we can do. And it's just shocking. I popped up another clip there, John, of them praying, actually, at the start of the hunger strike.
Okay, Jack, what I want to do is just one more on the live chat here. And again, it's Roy Brinkley again. And I know that Roy has been there and also has Clive Spencer. But where do we see? Yes. Join me tomorrow to protest at the City Hall. I'm assuming you're talking about Belfast City Hall, Roy. If you would just like to...
Oh, no, it's London City Hall.
All right, City Hall in London. Okay. So that's to the live chat. I mean, if you're not doing anything and you're in London, also, Roy, if you would like to pop up a time that you're likely to be there, we'll soon pop that onto our screen in order that we can show people the times and so on. So, yes, and this is from David Phillips. Excuse me. This is the thanks they get for giving their all for the motherland. Ulster also knows this very, very well, and we all know that that is the case. And, you know, I'm just going down here to Clive Spencer before we move on with the next clip. Having spent nights down in the pen, I understand bylaws. Police have been asked why do they not move on individuals rough sleeping in the area marked under the bylaw. Police officers have been challenged, stepped back, agreed, but then received orders from the hierarchy to continue to take chairs. Now, again, whenever I said that the foundation for any police force should be that the policing should be fair, impartial, free from partisan political control. In other words, policing shouldn't be used in a political way. And I believe there's a lot of politics at play, Clive, whenever that we would see that the police are operating different when it comes to different types of protests. And again, if anyone would like to dispute that, or anyone would like to, I can say that without fear of contradiction. So I'm just going to pop that down, Jack, and then we'll play the next clip. And then if you would like to come back and tell us about what it is that we see in this clip. So here we go.
Good luck. Bye. Thank you, Rahman. Thank you so much. God bless kamu saya.
उहाँहरू अनासनमा बसिसक्नु भएको छ। यहाँ उपस्थित
Okay, Jack, over to you.
So basically, that was just what I mentioned earlier at the start of the official hunger strike. all of the Gurkha community, the Nepalese community came out and they were giving their thanks. This is what is encouraging these guys. The 3 hunger strikers you see there, they aren't there on their own. They're there to represent their entire community. And just the amount of respect you saw for these guys bowing to them, because they understand the sacrifice that these are doing, because they're prepared to be martyrs for this cause, and they don't want to die, but they feel like if they have to die, at least they'll get what they're setting out to do. And as I said, I don't support the hunger strike in the sense I don't want these guys to die. I've spoken to all of them, the 2 men and the lady, Dan, Guy and Raj and Pushpa. They're lovely people. And it saddens me that they have to resort to this. But as I said, you just see, this is the thing, when they started the hunger strike, I said, how are you feeling? They said, we feel proud. We feel really encouraged because everyone's out here behind us and we're here for them as well. And it's just sad that these people have just been demonized and let down by the government.
And Jack, again, I'm just like to clarify here from Roy Brinkley that it's at City Hall in London, and it's at 12 midday. That is, and they're going to be there highlighting the plight of the Gurkhas. So at this point, we're near the top of the hour, and again, I would like to just replay the poem that we played at the start, because I know that there's new people on our screen, and I would like to also appeal to those new people that if you're here for the first time, if you would like to give us a like, if you would like to give us a share, I mean, if you're a veteran, if you're interested in veterans issues here at Restore UK and also at Turningpoint UK, I mean, we support the veterans, whether that be the veterans that served and protected the people of Northern Ireland throughout the years, those veterans who selflessly gave themselves, and here we are in 2021, and those people like Dennis Hutchings is being treated abysmally. And and really, it's unacceptable. And if you would like to join with us in helping highlight these things, please give us a like, please give us a share, and that way, through you liking this page, and what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to invite you to our streams. And we also do the victim stories, victims of IRA terrorism, and we highlight injustices wherever those injustices would come from. So welcome here to our screen if you're new. So again, just before we finish on this subject, and we'll be moving on to something else, we're almost at the top of the hour. I'm going to play this poem, Jack, and then if you come back after the poem, and if you can give a closing statement with reference to Gurkhas and what you believe is the way forward for these people. Back to the poem again.
Called it giants, because you're all giants as far as I'm concerned. And it goes like this. How much would it be to buy a hero? If you could buy one in Tesco's, what would be the cost? Would you pay in pounds and pence? Or would you just offer decency and common sense as payment for all the heroes that given and all that is lost? Would you expect to find a hero amongst the normal, nestled between the sweet corn and the peas? Or would you find them laying in a foreign field, wounded and dead because they wouldn't yield, their blood-stained tunics gently blowing in the breeze? How can you put a price upon a soldier, especially one who's fought for this country but who lives so far away? Who's given his lifeblood and his sweat, though his home is near the foothills of Tibet. Yet he loves his country enough to fight for it. Tell me, for this, how much would you pay? Isn't such loyalty worth an equal pension? Isn't it worth being truly recognised by those that we elect? Why are our politicians even arguing the toss when these aging warriors have sacrificed and suffered so much loss? Why can't they show some thanks, humility and respect? Do old soldiers not deserve to be looked after in their old age as they march towards their grave? Do these tiny heroes of Nepal, giants among men that stand defiantly and tall, not deserve to be cared for when for us they've been so brave? We asked them to join us in the poppy fields of France and Belgium. Their bodies with our own were strewn across the carnage in the mud. Their casualties were steep, at Lewes and then in Ypres, as they helped buy this nation victory with their blood. And so it's been throughout the decades. We've blown the bugle, and these giants always came. They answered each and every calling, yet the way our leaders treat them now is so appalling. Our politicians aren't even worthy enough to speak their name. So I've come down here from my home in Teesside to your protest at the cenotaph on behalf of a member of my family, my mum's brother, my Uncle Jack, who fought with you by your side as you fell and as you died in each and every Burmese offensive and attack. I've come to tell you that while our politicians ignore your cries for equality, that the people of this country stand with you, the Gurkha Rifles. We stand defiantly by your side. And to you, I'll tell you that despite our government's platitudes, you'll always have this nation's gratitude, and you'll always own our hearts, warmth, admiration, love and pride. Peace to every one of you. God bless you all.
Jack, again, what a powerful poem. You know, I've no words to top what that man had said. So over to you, Jack, if you would just like to give your closing with reference the plight of the Gurkhas.
Yeah, so that poem I touched on, it's by a guy called Chris McGlade. He wrote it for them for their protest and hunger strike, which is pretty impressive. And he's actually, funny enough, he's a lefty. So he's an ex-Labourite who's come sort of seen the light, still umming and ahhing about Labour, but it just highlights the importance of this cause. Like I've said, I've been on stage, I've said it, it's not a left issue, it's not a right issue, it's a common decency issue. It's if you have a soul, if you have a heart, you should be wanting to get these guys their pensions. You should be wanting to get them equality. You should want them to be able to live a good life in our country. Like the reason people have the right to go out and do their Black Lives Matter, to do their Extinction Rebellion, is because these guys have given their blood and given everything for us on the front lines. And the Gurkhas have been such a huge part of ensuring democracy, in ensuring that our way of life has survived because of their sacrifices. So I'd say to anyone, if you want to support the Gurkhas, please sign the petition. Like it's popping up every so often in the chat. Please sign it. Please send it to all your friends. We need to get to 100,000 likes. 100,000 signatures on it, so they debate it in Parliament. And then when they debate it in Parliament, we're going to go to some friendly MPs, hopefully, and get it pushed through. Realistically, I think this hunger strike, I do hope it's successful in the sense where they get their meeting. But I think even if they get the meeting, that's not going to change anything, unfortunately, because if the government said no already, it's unlikely they're going to change their mind. So this is why we need the petition, so we can show them that the British people support them too. And when we have the British people behind the Gurkhas, it means hopefully they'll never have to do a hunger strike again. Hopefully they can see that we're all extremely annoyed, irritated, frustrated at what's gone on here, and that the British people want them. The British people are happy. The British taxpayer is happy for our money to be spent on that. Like I'm sure 99% of us would rather our money is being spent on putting the Gurkhas in good housing, getting their families over here, giving them English courses so they can integrate, getting them into schools, than going and being spent on every individual who turns up in Kent, or just on Benefit Street or whatever. You know, this is actually a valid cause to spend the money on. And again, I'm someone who I run a very conservative capitalist organisation, so we don't like government spending, but this is one of the few exemptions of where we think the government needs to actually step up and pay these guys. They've wasted so much money just on crap, on the failed NHS app, on HS2, on MPs' expenses. Bloody Zara Sultana, Labour MP, spent £10,000, I believe it was £10,000, on an influencer kit, you know, so she can take nice social media pictures. And if they're wasting this sort of money, remember the MP expenses scandals where they were claiming for duck ponds and birdhouses. You know, so if they've got all this money to waste on themselves and that, how about they give the money to people to waste on second homes? How about they give the money to people who don't even have a proper home? People who are living in crappy council houses, living on estates where they're scared to go out because they're worried about being robbed. and again, these were the bravest of the brave when they were younger, but I'm sure you agree, as soon as you start hitting 60, 70, you don't want to be scrapping. You don't want to be having to throw your weight around. You want to just live a nice, peaceful life. You don't want to be feared. They've done their part fighting. And again, they don't like to say it, but some of the Gurkhas have severe PTSD as well, as would anyone. You know, they come from people who were on the front lines, who had to use those kukris, and they would have had to have done, again, necessarily done some horrible stuff and also witnessed some horrible stuff as well. And so we should be giving these veterans, these heroes, what they deserve, which is a good life in our country. So as I said, if you want to help the Gurkhas, stop by the Pen if you're in London, even if you're on the outskirts of London. I was up there the other day. It takes me about 2.5, 3 hours to get there and back. And I was up there. I came as soon as I heard the police had been harassing them. I stayed up there. I paid for a week in a hotel to be up there to help them. And I appreciate not everyone has a job which is flexible like mine. Not everyone can do that. But if you live in Sussex, Kent, Hampshire, the surrounding areas, even Manchester, it's 2 hours on the train from Manchester. You could pop down on a Saturday and be back on the same evening. Go down there and support them. Sign the petition. Send it to your friends, and let's get 100,000 signatures plus. That's the start. You know, that bloody alpaca everyone's talking about, bloody Geronimo, he's got over 100,000 signatures in 24, 48 hours. You know, do the British people really care more about an alpaca which has tuberculosis, you know, which can essentially infect other animals and wipe out livestock? And 100,000 people will go and sign a petition about that alpaca, but they won't sign a petition which defends 15,000 Gurkha veterans who are currently, as I said, this one Gurkha widow is being paid £10 a month pension, and she's 60 odd, you know? So we need to show the Gurkhas that people care, because again, the British people are behind them. Everyone who hears this, oh, it's disgusting. If you think it's disgusting, do something about it. Sign the petition, go to the protest, stick it on social media, make your voice heard, write to your MP, write to your councillors, write to the Prime Minister. Get out there and start showing that you care about these veterans. And again, this is just the first issue for us. Once we solve the Gurkha issue, we'll be moving on to other stuff. We want to help in Northern Ireland. We want to help. Survivors of child abuse. There's all sorts of stuff we want to help tackle, but we need to show we can run a successful campaign. And the Gurkhas, they're the tip of the iceberg. This is a cause we are going to win because it is a righteous cause. You know, it's something which very few people can argue against unless they have a heart of coal, honestly. But I think we are going to get this, and I have full confidence we will get them the equality they deserve. And then once we do that, we can start focusing on the other issues which need fixing in this country. So I think this country is one of the best countries on earth, if not the best country on earth, but we still have a lot of problems. We still have a lot of inequality, and not rubbish inequality like what the left put out. Not, oh, someone said I can't have an afro or this, that, and the other, you know. It's actual inequality, poverty, you know, stuff which really, really matters. And so hopefully we'll get that sorted.
And Jack, I'm just looking through the live chat, and there's you know, plenty of good live chat there. You know, there's really, really good comments, and too many to put on the screen. But I'm just going to try to pick out a few before that we move on. David Phillips here. Amen to that. How much is spent on housing and looking after immigrants these days? These men have earned their rights, and you know, I'm just going to go on down here. Now, well said. It's a disgrace. Now, one other thing here is that from Stephen Anderson, I'm ashamed of the government of my country. To disrespect any man or woman who has worn the uniform of the Crown is beneath contempt. And I'm going to go to here, Anne Wilson-Dixon. Left me feeling very emotional. Why is the British government letting all these illegal immigrants in and putting them up in hotels till they get them furnished accommodations, while veterans are sleeping rough? This is so wrong and heartbreaking. Time the government got this sorted. Veterans first, illegal immigrants sent back. And yeah, well, you know, the veterans issues is an issue which is very, very dear to our heart. And what we're going to do is that we're going to now move on. And we're going to move on really on the same sort of realm, let's just say. And, you know, we're going to talk about for a while, we're going to talk about Northern Ireland. You know, Jack, he spent some time with us in Northern Ireland over the 12th holiday period. And, you know, we travelled around and we looked at a lot of different issues here in Northern Ireland, and really showed Jack the truth of what was happening in Northern Ireland, and also why that it is that these things are happening in Northern Ireland. So, Jack, I'm just going to play a little video clip here, and it'll allow me to also to download something that I want to be popping on our screen. So this video, and I'm encouraging everyone to watch. And again, I'm encouraging you that if you are new to our screen, please give us a like, please give us a share, because we talk about issues which really matter here at Restore UK and also at Turningpoint UK from Jack's perspective. So I'm just going to play this little video, and I'm asking people to watch this video very, very carefully, to read the words in between the music, the cover version of what it is that we have played. And this is the reason, this is the exact reason why here in Northern Ireland that we find ourselves as second-class citizens, that we find ourselves having been separated from our brothers and sisters in England, Scotland and Wales. And we find ourselves that on the 23rd of June in 2016, 17.4 plus million people, they voted to leave the EU, and we won the referendum. And people in Northern Ireland, they formed part of that 17.4 plus million. And here we are today in August of 2021, where we find ourselves that we have been denied the democracy that the people in England, Scotland and Wales have got. And, you know, that is discrimination in my book. And the reason why that discrimination has happened was because of the threat of Republican violence. Watch this clip very, very carefully, because it will give you an insight into, let me say one thing before we play this video. The Belfast Agreement, it was a disguise. It was built for appeasement, swindle and lies. The peace is a farce. The IRA guns are still there. And London is afraid of another bomb scare. We'll watch this clip, then we'll come back and we'll talk about our time, Jack, that we had in Northern Ireland over the 12th period.
We are searchlights.
Sorry about that, wrong clip. Everyone makes mistakes.
Say the skies of Lebanon are burning, those mighty cedars bleed in the heat. They're showing pictures on the television, women, children dying in the street. And we're still at it in our own place, still trying to reach the future through the past, still trying to carve tomorrow from a tombstone. But hey, don't listen to me, 'cause this wasn't meant to be no sad song. I've heard too much of them before. Right now I only wanna be here with you until the morning dew comes falling. Yeah. I wanna take you to the island, trace your footprints in the sand, and in the evening when the sun goes down, we'll make love to the sound of the ocean. They're raising banners over by the markets, whitewashing slogans on our shipyard walls, witch doctors praying for a mighty showdown. There's no way our holy flag is gonna fall. Up here we sacrifice our children, worn our dreams of yesterday, and teach them dying will lead us into glory. But hey, don't listen to me, this wasn't meant to be no sad song. I've sung too much of them before. right now I only wanna be here with you until the morning dew comes falling. I wanna take you to the island, trace your footprints in the sand, and in the evening when the sun goes down, we'll make love to the sound of the ocean. I wanna take you to the island, trace your footprints in the sand, and in the evening when the sun goes down, we'll make love to the sound of the ocean. I wanna take you to the island, trace your footprints in the sand, and in the evening when there's no one around, we'll make love to the sound of the ocean. And in the evening when there's no one around, we'll make love to the sound of the ocean.
So there you go, Jack. I mean, that's the reason why that we find ourselves in Northern Ireland separated from the rest of the United Kingdom in a totally undemocratic way. And, you know, it beggars belief that maybe you'll see that myself and Jack are wearing little T-shirts here. Really, they're protest T-shirts for no Irish Sea border. Restore UK, Northern Ireland is British. So from the plight of the Gurkhas, and, you know, that's something that we all should be getting behind, to the highlighting of the very fact that a constituent part of the United Kingdom has been separated from the rest of the United Kingdom. So we asked Jack to join us over the 12th period to come across and to really join us in scratching the surface in order that the people on Jack's channel, the people that Jack can push out to on Turningpoint UK, that they could understand that what you hear on your media isn't always the truth. So, Jack, what I would like to do is I would like to start by playing a clip of a contentious bonfire that was right across the news channels in right across the United Kingdom, and I guess further afield. And then you came and you interviewed a man at this bonfire. This bonfire was known as the Tigers Bay bonfire. And I would just like to let people hear what it is that Jack had talked about to this man. And then when we come back, Jack, if you would just like to talk about how that it is that you perceived this area. I mean, was it contentious? Was it being painted in the right way via the mainstream media? And yeah, let's play the clip, Jack, and then we'll come back and you can talk about it.
Ron, who's a member of the TUV, their press secretary, and we're here at the Tiger Bay bonfire, which has been in the news recently with certain nationalist groups calling it controversial. Ron, would you be able to tell us a little bit about the history behind the bonfire, why it's here and why it's provoking controversy?
Well, it's a manufactured controversy for a start. We're in the heart of a unionist community. You can see unionist paraphernalia, unionist kids who have collected for the bonfire, and it's a community bonfire. But every year, Sinn Féin and nationalism target a bonfire. Last year they targeted one in East Belfast, and they've manufactured a campaign against this one. But I can't help but think that it's been a massive own goal. This is in the heart of a unionist area. Tigers Bay's had a bonfire on this site for many, many years without the level of controversy that we've seen this year. But all that Sinn Féin and nationalism has managed to do is to galvanise the unionist community. and they've scored a massive own goal. We have unionist unity on a level that I haven't seen for months in Northern Ireland. If I could perhaps make this bonfire relative to folk across the United Kingdom who maybe don't understand bonfire culture in Northern Ireland, it would be exactly the same heritage as Guy Fawkes Night, for example. It's a bonfire which is steeped in history and brings communities together, but it is a quintessential emblem of Britishness. And it's that quintessential emblem of Britishness which is abhorrent to nationalism in Belfast. They have attacked it with the full force of the courts, with the full force of their mainstream media. We've had Mary Lou MacDonald, who has came up to Belfast from the Southern Ireland to visit the bonfire. We had the leader of Sinn Féin, Michelle O'Neill, and we had John Finucane, the nationalist MP for the area, all trying to agitate and bring this fire down. But the main bone of contention would be that this is built to antagonise nationalism. You can see the flats in the distance, which would be the New Lodge, and that's the sort of distance we're talking about. We're in the heart of a unionist area. It's not the fact that there's a fire that's a problem, it's a fact that we exist. They're not attacking a bonfire because there are bonfires on the nationalist side of the community. They're attacking the existence of the British unionist people in Northern Ireland. And like I say, by doing so, they've galvanised the people in this area, and we are far stronger now because of their attack than what we were before it. So I suppose we should really thank them for a spectacular own goal.
No, certainly, and I think one of the things which isn't being covered by the press, they're saying this bonfire is controversial, but there's been a complete media blackout, at least as far as I've seen, about the nationalists who broke into a site about 2 minutes down the road on the Shankill Road and burnt their bonfire down about 2 or 3 nights ago. Yeah, and again, so that's a provocative action there, whereas...
Well, if you want to talk about provocative actions across North Belfast, you're right to say that the bonfire was burnt in the Shankill 2 nights ago, but there was also a war memorial attacked in Glengormley in North Belfast a couple of nights ago as well. So it's small level agitation with the purpose of inflaming and ruining the main unionist festivals around the 12th of July. But like I said again, they've scored a massive own goal. The Department for Infrastructure, combining with the Department for Communities who attacked this bonfire, broke the law themselves. It was thrown out of courts, and it was a spectacular victory for the people around here. And I have to say that no politicians delivered this victory. The people led the resistance against militant Sinn Féin and militant nationalism here, and the people delivered the victory. So I think it's maybe something that we can look to going forward, and even broader around the protocol. Where the people lead, the politicians are going to have to follow, because I think in Northern Ireland we're in a position now where people aren't following politicians, so politicians better follow the people.
No, very true.
Okay, Jack. I mean, that was probably one of our first engagements whenever you were here in Northern Ireland. Jack, would you just like to firstly talk about what it is that you found whenever you attended that bonfire? And then also, we would just like to talk about the time that you were here in Northern Ireland and really give us a few tips or not tips, but let's just say, give us a few pointers on how that it is that you found the place and how that it is that you found the people where you made feel welcome. Over to you, Jack.
Yeah, well, certainly starting with the bonfires, I found it interesting that that was a contentious bonfire because it's behind 2 very large walls. Again, you don't have to be offended by it unless you're going to go looking for it. Like, again, the people in the flats, they might see it, but it's one night to celebrate unionist culture. Like, the bonfires stem from the signal fires being lit by William of Orange when he was guiding his army over Ireland. It's not an anti-Catholic thing, it's a pro-British Union thing. Again, some people might interpret it as anti-Catholic, but certainly even at the bonfire we attended in Ballymoney, there were multiple Catholics there enjoying themselves. No one was saying any anti-Catholic chants or slogans. And actually, I heard a few years back, I believe in Belfast, some Protestant youths actually stole I think it was a St. Mary piece from a church. And when their elders found out, they told their kids off and made them return it. Because they said, no, it's not about hating on Catholicism. This is about celebrating being British. And there's multiple people out there who are Catholic and pro-union. I use my family as well. Half my family's Presbyterian and the other half is Catholic. And the Catholic side is just as passionate and patriotic as the Presbyterian side. And I think at these bonfires, anyone would be welcome, again, except probably IRA supporters and terrorist sympathisers, or other terrorist sympathisers, I guess. It's certainly it's one of those things where I didn't see any animosity or negative feelings being directed towards Catholics or even Irish people. It was more just a celebration, a pride of being pro-union, like you saw on the bonfire. It had Ulster flags on, so it's all about a celebration of being proud. Local traditions very similar to Guy Fawkes Night. So yeah, that's what I'd say about the bonfires.
Yeah, good man. And we attended some events. I mean, there's some people on our screen. We attended an event at the Belfast City Hall, and Jack, if you can remember, the protesters that are there, they are protesting because that the flag of the country, the Union Jack, the flag of the United Kingdom, it can only fly in designated days on Belfast City Hall, and that flag was removed at the request of Republicans and also backed up by people in the left wing that would like to see Northern Ireland taken away from the United Kingdom and being no longer part of the United Kingdom. Jack, if you remember visiting the City Hall and talking to Billy Dixon and Anne Dixon, would you just like to tell us what that it was that you found? Now, remember, those people, if you can recall, they have stood there every Saturday for the past 9 years, from my recollection. So over to you, Jack. I would just like to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, it was great talking to Billy. Again, he's very much another hero. He was someone where the IRA attempted to throw a bomb in his house, shot him, and he still managed to fight them off. So I believe they weren't able to actually get into his house, but after they shot him, he went and pushed the broken glass into their faces, which is pretty ballsy, to be fair, while he's bleeding out. And standing up with no firearms or anything against terrorists trying to kill him just for being involved with the DUP at the time. But I spoke to him and we spoke about the flags, and I just think it's shocking. I don't understand how people can be offended about our country's flag being flown in our country, and why we are pandering to these people as well. If again, we say it for a lot of people, we say it about lefties, we say it about Black Lives Matter, we say it about Extinction Rebellion. If you don't like our country, leave. It's the same goes for IRA and IRA supporters. If you don't like our country, leave. There's no border between the north and south of Ireland, so they can drive right over there and pitch up there if they want to be part of Ireland. But what they can't do is just stir up problems over here, because they're stirring up division and they're stirring hostilities. There's never going to be a united Ireland, at least not in our lifetimes. Who knows, 100, 200 years, fingers crossed not. But I think with the amount of passion over there, there's not going to be a united Ireland. And they're making a mountain out of a molehill here. The Sinn Féiners, if they just pushed for something which they say, look, we want our Celtic roots recognised or whatever, we want like a little museum to celebrate old Irish history, but we're still part of the UK. And you know what? We can still be proud Brits alongside celebrating our history. I think everyone would probably say, yeah, fair enough. But what they're pushing for is division, and caving into them is just putting another nail in Britain's coffin. Like, I don't understand. If ISIS went to us, you can't fly the Union Jack over the Houses of Parliament or we'll bomb you, would the British government cave in, or would they say, no, do your worst, we'll kill you, we'll arrest you because you're terrorists. If you come at us with firearms, with bombs, we will shoot you as you are breaking the law. We will use every legal power to defend good citizens. And I think that's what they need to start saying to these extremists in Northern Ireland. If someone threatens to bomb people, if they threaten to start marching with guns, put them down, arrest them. If the Gurkhas bloody came out and started threatening to bomb people, they'd all be nicked and locked in some secure unit like that. People turned up with firearms shooting, like we saw in that video earlier at the Gurkha protest, they'd be nicked. And again, quite rightly so, because people shouldn't be doing that. But I don't understand how, just because you support the IRA, you can get away with discharging firearms in civilian areas. Again, no understanding or worry for people around them. That bullet going in the air has to come down at some point, and that could kill an innocent. There's been plenty of people who've been killed by people shooting guns in the air. The bullet comes down and it kills like a mother or a child or something. Again, probably adding to the many list of IRA victims out there already. And this is just the very frustrating thing about the flag, is our flag celebrates and represents our entire country. And to not be able to fly it in one of the capitals, one of the 4 countries that make up our great nation, I think it's just absolutely disgusting. And the government needs to grow a spine. And if Stormont won't grow a spine, Westminster needs to grow a spine and say, no, we're going to put that flag back up. And if you don't like it, there's the border, off you go.
Yeah, Jack, and we did attend the landing site of King William at Carrickfergus, and where the monument of King William was. And Jack,
they're so petty. it's the ones who want the so-called reunification of Ireland. Because when I attended that, they scratched out the face of King William on all the little signs which talk about his history. They go and they scratch his face out. Like, how petty is that to go around every site in every sign in a historical area and scratch out the face of a British king? It's just, this is the type of people, unfortunately, you guys have to deal with over there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they want to remove all things British. They want to ensure that the people here, the British people here, and let me just explain. I mean, I'm from Northern Ireland. I was born British. I've got a British passport. It's my birthright to be British. I mean, the Act of the Union, it provided that we in Northern Ireland would remain part of the United Kingdom. And yeah, I mean, that's, no one's ever going to take that away from us, by the way, even though that we've got a border in the North Channel, otherwise known as the Irish Sea right now. I mean, there's people in Northern Ireland here, and you push people so far, and then things start happening. Now, I'm not in any way, shape, or form promoting violence. I often say that an army of people must be put together with weapons of words that would remain and abide forever, and that's what we need to do. We need to highlight things. We need to talk about things like we're doing with the Gurkhas. We need to highlight the problems in Northern Ireland. We need to highlight the fact that if Northern Ireland is separated from the United Kingdom, then Nicola Sturgeon would be seeking to have exactly the same thing, as would the people in Wales be seeking to have the same thing. And this is the greatest union that has ever existed. And, we're not going to let a few Republican terrorists cause the circumstances whereby the breakup of the United Kingdom actually occurs. Because I heard it said last night, Jack, and in fact I did hear Ron actually saying it also, is that the people are way ahead of the politicians, and the politicians actually need to begin catching up with the people. So I'm just going to pop this on our screen, Jack, before that we move on to, I'm going to ask you something else, and we're going to play a clip that we have from the journey that you spent over the period that you were here in Northern Ireland. So Justice for Northern Ireland Veterans, it's an original group, and I would encourage everyone on our screen to go across and to join with Roy Brinkley and the people there that highlight the issues for and on behalf of veterans who are often treated abysmally by the British government. And, it is totally unacceptable that actually happens. So I'm just going to take that down for a moment. Now, Jack, so we went from, we visited Carrickfergus, and then we went on to Larne, where there was a huge, big monster bonfire in the middle of a field. I mean, what did you see? What did you witness when you were there, Jack? Could you like to just tell people a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, what was interesting actually was it had to have security guards. There were lads there who had to guard it. As I mentioned in the video we saw when I was interviewing Ron, people sneak in and they burn the bonfires down a couple of days before just to cause a problem. And again, that's incredibly inflammatory as well. Again, if people were just left to celebrate their customs, their traditions, then it would be an issue. And it's the same with other things. If apparently the supporters of a unification of Ireland, the Sinn Féiners, they have bonfires themselves, and they're largely left alone. They're not reported by the media, and people leave them to it, as it should be. If people want to celebrate their customs and their traditions, even if you disagree, providing it's not hurting anyone, providing it's not glorifying terrorism, it should be allowed to happen. But people can't have it both ways. Where they can do what they want, and then tell people, "Oh, you can't do the same." Because again, that's when we go back to this two-tiered policing. Is either one rule for everyone, or it's anarchy. It's like you can't have it because you push people too far, and then people will see it. It's like what we're seeing with the government at the moment with their green stuff, where they're saying, "Oh, people have to do X, Y, and Z," and they say, "But you took a private jet from London to Cornwall. You can't lecture us about green stuff." Or when they're handing out, or when they're all breaking social distancing while telling everyone to adhere to social distancing while they're not quarantining after getting pinged on the NHS app, it makes people angry. But actually, politicians should be setting examples for people and following the laws which they implement. But back to the bonfire, I saw it was a beast of a bonfire. It's Leaning Tower of Bonfire because it was on a slight slant, I seem to remember. But again, those guys are massive stones as well because they didn't have any safety gear. And they just climbing up like monkeys up the side of it. It was just absolutely incredible. And again, we didn't see that one, but I think that would have definitely scorched my eyebrows off. It would have had a tan by the end of it.
Yeah, well, the one that we actually visited on the following evening, well, it almost scorched my eyebrows off, I have to say, and it wasn't anywhere
Burnt
near
face
as
the
big
next
as
day.
that one. That's right, we were tanned up. That's correct. So we then, I mean, we spent a bit of time in a place then called Kilkeel on the Saturday night. I mean, we had a jam-packed itinerary, and we went to see some of the more traditional bands, the marching band fraternity, and also people dressed in period dress. Jack, was there anything that you noticed on that parade in the Kilkeel area that particularly stood out for you?
I think just the incredible banners people were carrying, and again, it's stuff which isn't inflammatory. It's celebrating Irish history, so it's these incredibly detailed painted banners. And again, you just have to see it to believe it, because I think it is a dying trade across the world. Because most stuff you get it printed in China, you get this sort of nylon rubbish, but this stuff was proper canvas, proper detailed, hand printed, rather than computer printed stuff, which is just incredible to see. And as well, just the bagpipes as well. I'm lots of Scottish blood in me. Something in there beats for the bagpipes, and watching the bagpipe bands go by was just absolutely amazing too. The discipline, the community, the fact that like the whole high street shut down to celebrate this. Everyone was welcome. They were saying that the one thing which did stand out was our camera guy, Jim. And he's much more than a camera guy. Before the parade, he was filming it. Great guy, Jim Werner. He was chatting to a few people, and they were Catholic, and they said, "Oh, we love what's going on here, but please don't film us, because we'll have repercussions in our communities for coming here." And I don't think that should be right in any part of this UK, where you're penalised for attending parades, when you're penalised for attending stuff which is like a celebration of being British. And certainly it's not, oh, we're going to be like, people might tell us off. It might have serious consequences, like houses being burnt down, bullets going through windows, all for attending a parade which celebrates the Union. And that for me is just extremely concerning. And for something, it put a bit of a dampener really on something which was actually quite a fun day. You had the ice cream vans going, you had your kids running around being happy, and just knowing some people were risking everything to be there. And it's very sad to see in a first world country like Britain.
Yeah, absolutely, Jack. Jack, I'm actually frozen up again, but unfortunately we've came to the end of what it is that we're doing here, and we've spent an hour and a half actually talking about it. And Jack, I would like to thank you very much for coming along and for highlighting the plight of the Gurkhas, and also for talking about your time here in Northern Ireland. And Jack, just one more question before I go on Northern Ireland, on you being here in Northern Ireland. I mean, was there anything that you could say that stood out for you of the the 3 or 4 days that you spent here? Was there a particular time that you particularly enjoyed over the period?
I think just the hospitality, honestly, like one of the most welcoming places. Like wherever we went, people were so friendly. Again, certainly yourself, your friends, your family, all very lovely people who really welcomed me. And it was my girlfriend who came over with me at the time. It was just lovely, lovely to be welcomed in the community and treated like family. People who didn't know me from Adam, all really keen to share the culture, just excited that someone from the mainland had come over to take part in something. Which people are very proud of. People are very proud of being in their bands. They practice all year for this 1 week of celebrations, and it's incredible to see that sense of national pride as well. I think that was the other thing, just the patriotism. I wish we were this patriotic on the mainland as what I saw over there, where Union flags everywhere, people genuinely proud to be British, people going out and playing in bands and stuff. It's just doing stuff which would seem completely alien on the mainland, but certainly it's great to see there's still this good little pocket of patriotism over in Northern Ireland. And I hope from Turning Point being over there, from me reporting and filming and showing it back to the mainland, we'll start to see similar things being replicated, that sort of patriotism, that national pride coming back.
Yeah, Jack, thank you very much for those kind words. Now, I'm going to play one more short, very, very short video clip. And, I can recall, I think that you said that this was your type of nightclub. And I think you've never experienced anything like this before. But this is to the people on the live chat. I mean, on this day, we went on a bus run with some people from up around the North Coast area. And they were kind enough to take us down to a parade on the 13th of July in Portadown, and we spent the day watching the marching bands and the the loyal orders and then we had some dinner and a few glasses of beer, let's just say, and then we went on to an evening in a club in Belfast, and just really so that Jack could sample what happens in Northern Ireland over the 12th period. Now, again, I'm just going to play this little clip, Jack, and I'm going to come back and ask you just to explain how that it was that you received this, and how, let's just say, what it was that you witnessed. If you could just describe it after we play this little short clip. Wow, Jack. Wow. Over to you.
Just incredible. And as you said, it's my kind of nightclub. I normally hate clubbing, anything like that, but it was certainly very good fun. It's great to see as well all the young people in there, as well as some of the older people. And I used to see that when I was a kid. We used to have street parties, we used to have D-Day celebrations, military celebration, and everyone, all ages, all communities would come out and support that. And that's just died off. In the last 10, 15 years, it doesn't happen anymore. So I was born in 98, so I was attending stuff like that up until about 2005, 2010, and now it's largely obsolete, unfortunately. Or you get the oldies going, but not really everyone else. But it was great to see still that level of patriotism for people my age over there too, and people coming, having a good time, having a few drinks, singing some very patriotic songs. And yeah, just as I said, I've never seen anything like that. Like, you didn't really get it from the video, but when you're in that environment, it's in close space, you've got the bands going, your ears are ringing. It's good fun. It really rouses something patriotic up inside you.
Yeah, Jack, absolutely. There's a tendency to do that. And, I think that, thank you very much, Jack, for coming along. And as you've been everywhere that we went, and we were in a lot of places throughout our visit, and each and every person and each and every one of those places, they invited you back. And that they've made you family, and they've made your girlfriend part of the family. And we do hope that you come back very, very soon to join us again. And Jack, from me and from the people at Restore, thank you very much for all that you've done and all that you do to highlight what is happening here in Northern Ireland. So thank you very much, Jack, for that. Jack, would you just like to close with some words to the live chat, and then we'll play us out with one cover version and a patriotic song, and that'll be us. It'll be goodbye from me and goodbye from Jack. So over to you, Jack.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, John, for your kind words too. Like, I'm very keen. I've got quite a large platform now, and again, the media takes notice of what we do. Again, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time, but it very much means with issues like the Gurkhas, with issues like Northern Ireland vets, we can get this stuff in the news, and we will really fight for the little guy. I'm not interested in being a politician myself. Again, even by the work I do, I've pretty much eliminated all chance of being an MP in the future. But I do this because I care. I care about, and we care as an organisation about the smaller issues, the stuff which should be national news. It should be blowing some of this. It should be bloody news every day instead of Geronimo the alpaca. It's stuff which affects you guys on a day-to-day basis, and the stuff which doesn't receive a lot of popularity. I said it's a smaller issue, but it's small in the sense where the media doesn't report on it, but it affects a lot of people. And so this is what really we set out to do now, is to help people, because as I said, we're done with wasting our time with sort of, you get a lot of conservative outlets doing it where, oh my God, did you see they've just said what's the latest one? Oh, they've just said something's racist or whatever. Look at all these mental lefties, ha ha. And it's like, yeah, that's good. It's fun to laugh at, but it doesn't do anything in terms of improving the lives of people. We want to start proposing. We've got a conservative government in power. How conservative is a big question mark, but there are some good ones in there, and they have a whopping majority. So there's no reason we can't get some genuine legislation through, which is going to make your lives easier in Northern Ireland, which is going to help the Gurkhas get equal pension, which is going to protect Northern Irish vets, which is going to lock up child abusers for at least 25 years. There's all of this stuff which needs to be done. When we have the right government to do it, they just need encouragement. And so that's our campaign to do, is just to make sure if the government won't do it themselves, we give them a little push to make sure they do it. And so this is what we plan to do now, is just try and help where we can. If anyone has any issues or concerns in their local area, please do email Turningpoint UK or drop us a message on our Facebook page, and we'll do everything we can to help. We can't cover everything because there are so many hours in the day, but we will get round to you. And while we're focusing on the Gurkhas at the moment, we've got some stuff coming up to do with Northern Ireland vets, which we really want to do. And then we'll be back to protecting the union after then. So we'll be working on these campaigns just to try and get justice, equality, and to get it back to how Britain used to be, really, where it was fair, where we had a rule of law, where we had community values, where we had respect. And yeah, hopefully we'll achieve that with, again, all of your support, the people who are tuning in. We can't do this without you. We're only platforms. Restore's only a platform. Turningpoint UK is only a platform because of you guys. So thank you very much for tuning in and supporting us. And yeah, definitely, if you haven't dropped, if you're watching from Turningpoint, or if you just clocked on, please do drop Restore a like, because they're a great channel. They do some very important work in Northern Ireland. And thank you, John, for having me on.
Once again, thank you very much, Jack. And I'm just going to pop up this here from Jim Verder. He knows a guy who sings he can sing very patriotic when he sings "I Am My Country," and I think that guy actually got a standing ovation in a pub in Ballymoney. And yeah, what a night that was. You know, he sang "I Am My Country," and everyone in the bar, they stood up and they clapped him. And yeah, it was a good night. Jack, thank you very much once again for coming along. To the people on the live chat, we'll be back here on Monday at 8 o'clock, and we look forward to seeing everyone. So Jack, don't go anywhere. We're going to play us out with a cover version. So go ahead, Jack. Yeah.
So last thing I wanted to say is, please do sign the Gurkha petition and send it round. So if everyone on here can send it to 10 people, you'll be helping get these guys equality. So the petition's in the chat. Please do sign it. Please do pass it on. And thank you for all your hard work. Sorry, back to you, John.
Yeah, no, you're okay, Jack. So we're going to play us out with a cover version of a song. And this is very, very dear and important in terms of the work here in Northern Ireland that it is that we need to do when highlighting our plight here in Northern Ireland, the very fact that we're separated from the rest of the United Kingdom. So Jack, what we're going to do is we're going to play this. We're going to play us out with one patriotic song. And as we do, I'm going to encourage the live chat to please leave messages of support for Jack Ross. 1 in a million, a man that goes out of his road to ensure that the people of Northern Ireland would not be separated from the rest of the United Kingdom. We may be separated by an illegal border right now, but certainly we're not separated from our brothers and our sisters in England, Scotland, and Wales, especially when we have a man like Jack Ross. Thank you very much, Jack. So good night from me, and it's good night from Jack.
There is freedom within, there is freedom without. Try to catch a deluge in a paper cup. There's a battle ahead, many battles are lost, but you never see the end of the road while you're traveling with me. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Now I'm towing my car. There's a hole in the roof. My possessions are causing me suspicion, but there's no proof. In the paper today tells a warrant of waste, but you turn right over to the TV page. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in, they come to build a wall between us. You know that they won't win. Walking again to the beat of the drum, and I'm counting the steps to the door of your heart. Only shadows ahead, barely clearing the roof. Get to know the feeling of liberation and relief. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in, they come to build a wall between us. You know that they won't win. La da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da da da. Oh, let the wind don't
just across the Irish Sea stirs a heart of loyalty, raising honor and indignity, drives a will to keep us British free. Not alone are we on this journey, for in a land just across the sea is a hand that reaches out in friendship, and a bond that's lasted centuries. And its hands across the water, reaching out for you and me, for Queen Ulster and for Scotland, help to keep our loyal people free. Let the cry be no surrender, let no one doubt our loyalty, reaching out to the brave red hand of Ulster is the hand across the sea. Scotland help to keep our loyal people free. Let the cry be no surrender. Let no one doubt our loyalty. Reaching out to the brave red hand of Ulster is a hand across the sea. Just across the Irish Sea stirs a heart of loyalty, raising honor and dignity. Drive the will to keep us British free. Not alone, we on this journey, or in a land just across the sea. It's a hand that reaches out in friendship. It's the hand across the sea. It's the hand across the sea. It's a hand across the sea.
We didn't join Europe to be swallowed up in some bureaucratic conglomerate where it's Euro this and Euro that and forget about being British. We're British and we're proud of it. Proud of our traditions, proud of our national character,